Welcome to my most tutorials. Today we are looking at the female's reproductive system. We need to be familiar with the front and the side view. So now this is our front view and that will be our side view of the female's reproductive system. Take note, we have what we call the oviduct, which is a funnel, sometimes we call it the fallopian tube. So the oviduct and fallopian tube is one thing. And then there we have got our ovaries, and the ovaries is having the ovules, which is the egg. And then we have the uterus lining. We have the bladder there. We have the urethra, the bladder, and from the bladder, we are having our urethra, and the vulva is there. That's what you see on a daily basis, right? And then the hollow inside here, we call it the vagina. And then from the bladder there, we have our ureter branching off there, and that's the rectum. We're not worried much about the rectum on this one. But then on this front view, it's much easier and clearer. We have our ovaries here. The ovaries have got eggs inside. And then we have our oviduct. These things like hangers. Like the loop. These are oviducts or the fallopian tubes. And this is where your uterus is. And you have your cervix is beletho. And then now this canal in here, that's the vagina, and the vulva will be somewhere there. So what are the functions of all these things that I've mentioned? Let's start off with the ovaries. So what do the ovaries do? They produce female sex cells, and they also produce the female hormones, which is progesterone and estrogen. The progesterone controls the development of ova, which is the egg. Ova is just a female egg, and also the thickening of uterus lining in preparation for pregnancy. Your body is always preparing for pregnancy. Okay, if pregnancy does not take place, then menstruation will follow. So estrogen causes female secondary sexual characteristics and is also involved in menstrual cycle. The female secondary characteristics is the one that when we are talking of the development from being a girl to becoming a woman, all those developments are due to the hormones that are secreted by the ovaries, right? So we have the oviduct, which is sometimes called the fallopian tube. So the oviduct is lined with projections that help to move the egg cell from the ovary to the uterus, And please take note, fertilization takes place in the oviduct. It takes place in the fallopian tube. So it just helps the egg to move from the ovaries to the uterus. And then what did we say the uterus is? So the uterus is just a very thick muscular wall. The fertilized ovum actually implants itself in the uterine walls to develop into an embryo, produce sex cells and hormones, and also helps the developing embryo after fertilization and supply the embryo with nutrients while it develops. That is if when fertilization has taken place, right? But if fertilization does not take place, it actually disintegrates. It breaks, and then that's what you get as your period. So we talked of the cervix there. So this is just a narrow ring of muscle that closes the uterus, but can expand greatly during birth of a baby, right? So it contains glands that supply the vagina with mucus. It has a lot of glands that supply the vagina with mucus. Remember, the vagina is self-cleaning, right? So the vagina is a muscular organ which opens to the outside of the body. This is where sperms are deposited during copulation, and it acts also as a birth canal. It's the road for the baby to come out, and it is richly supplied with mucus, and it is always lubricated because of the cervix, right? And then now I want us to have a look at the structure and functions of sex cells. We've got sperms from the male's reproductive system. We've got the ovum, which is the egg from the female's reproductive system. Take note of the sperms. They have a tail, Remember, they swim their way they swim, okay? And then they have what we call the middle piece. In the middle piece there we have what we call the mitochondria. So the mitochondria supplies them with energy. And on the head of the sperm there, we have the nucleus, which is carrying the male's characteristics. And we have what we call acrosomes. So these are enzymes that will actually digest their way into the ovum, right? Into the egg, okay? And when we look at the egg, it's just having the nucleus, it's having a cell membrane. This black line is the cell membrane, and the nucleus is hanging inside the cytoplasm, which contains the yolk, and then there's also a layer of gel. So now, on the sperms, they are surrounded by one membrane. They are very small in size, meaning they are microscopic. They also move on its own. They can swim. The ovum is actually surrounded by two membranes. It is very big compared to a sperm, and it has to be moved. It has to be pushed around. So, and it has also more cytoplasm containing food there inside of it. The sperms, they are smaller. They have smaller or lesser cytoplasm in them. No nutrient store. They don't have any food store. But then the ovum actually has got food store, and it has got more mitochondria to provide energy for it to be able to swim. And then the ovum has got fewer mitochondria. The sperms have got acrosomes, which are present. These ones, they contain enzymes that breaks down the membrane of the ova. The ova does not have any acrosomes. It is elongated in shape, but then the ova, it's oval or round in shape. I'm sure even the name can tell you, right? So take note that the head of the sperm contains a nucleus, and that contains half the genetic material of the male, and the nucleus of the ova also contains half the genetic material of the mother, okay, which will then fuse with each other during fertilization, and then they will form a new zygote, and that will develop into a baby, right? See you on our next lesson, where I'll be explaining the menstrual cycle. So when we're talking of the menstrual cycle, we're simply saying